Hello. This module covers API proxy revisions and how they are managed in Apigee Edge. So let's start with clarifying the difference between an API proxy revision and an API version. Changing your API version is exposed to your consumers and represents a major API change or a change that is not backwards compatible. API proxy revisions, however, are an Apigee Edge construct representing proxy updates and will not impact your API consumers. API engineers can make unlimited number of revisions to their API proxies. This could be a result of things like adding or removing fields or policies. It could also be for changes to the API conditional flows or changing the target endpoint, to name a few examples. The key is that software using the API proxy will continue to work and is backwards compatible. It won't break. Policy changes such as adding a spike arrest policy, which doesn't impact consumers, can have the revision deployed to production without any impact or communication to your clients needed. However, communication might be necessary if you've introduced additional fields in an API proxy, since in this instance, knowing that this is available might add value for your end user experiences by incorporating this into their software. So for example, a customer API might add a field like has been a customer since or customer since. And the developer might then use this to create differentiated experiences based on how long a customer has been loyal to a particular retailer. And note that the key here in this example is the fields were added. I didn't say they were newly required fields, which would be a major change that would require versioning. API proxy revisions are managed in Edge. Within Apigee Edge, revisions are accessible through the user interface or the management API. API engineers have control over when to create a new revision, with some exceptions. For example, in the dev environment, an API engineer may choose to update the same revision as they work through a specific feature request. Once that request is complete and deployed to a higher environment, a new revision can be created for the next feature request. If you delete or rename a policy or are making changes to a revision that is deployed to an environment that you don't have deployment permissions for, you'll be prompted to create a new revision. Further, since revisions can be controlled through the management API, it allows for simplified integration with your automated CI/CD process. This concludes the API proxy revision module. For more information on this topic, refer to our documentation, and of course, if you have any questions, please post them on our community.